Hi guys, I'm Laura Wilson and welcome to the Rooted Potager. This is where I'll be sharing my journey as a home gardener. I started growing vegetables in my backyard for my family, and I've recently ventured out into landscape gardening. Today we're going to be doing something called winter sowing. Simply put, it's a method of seed starting during the winter months that you do outdoors. I've done seed starting indoors, which I'm currently doing now, but this will be a first time experiment for me, so I'm really excited to try it. And if you are familiar with winter sowing, you may have watched some other gardeners do this. A lot of times they use kind of like what I call the OG method of using milk jugs. I've seen some other gardeners try this method. I'm going to try it. This is what would work best for me. But essentially what this is doing, you want a vessel, one that you can provide drainage in, and you want to make sure that you can create holes in the top because you need to be able to let moisture in. So since this is going to be outside, that will be through the rain and through the snow. This is also clear because you want to be able to let light in. Again, this is going to be creating a greenhouse effect. Let's talk about why people winter sow. One is because certain plants or flowers need the cold stratification where they have to undergo this period of cold before they are ready to sprout and germinate. And so this takes care of that. The reason is also just time and space. If you don't have a dedicated space to set up a seed starting station, this is a great way to get a head start on the season. It's also, I wouldn't say it's a set and forget type of method, but it is definitely less hands-on than if you are starting seeds indoors, which requires you to check on them daily. If you've done this before, a process called hardening off, where you're taking them outdoors, getting them used to the elements before their final home outside. This can be very time consuming of taking them in and out. You have to know what type of weather you're expecting that day. It's a whole process. It's basically what the plants are going to be doing is following nature's cue, and they're going to be waking up when it's time. So that means when the soil is at the optimal temperature for that particular plant. In this type of greenhouse situation, the soil will warm up quicker. And so those seeds will probably germinate a little bit quicker, and then they'll already be hardened off from being outside as they go through those temperature changes, and they're used to the UV from the sun. So I will be checking on this regularly and making sure that it is getting sufficient moisture. It will be placed in an area that is getting sun. That is also important. Okay, let's talk about what you're going to need to winter sow. As I mentioned, we have this bin here. Again, I am not doing the OG method of using milk jugs, but I am going to be testing this out because this will be so helpful for me just to be able to get more seeds started, as I only have a limited space indoors. I have my pots here. You'll need your soil, of course, and this is a good thing to note. For this, I am not using seed starting mix. They are going to be outside in the elements. They are going to be growing there for some time, and they're going to need something a little bit more substantial. So I am using a regular potting mix. And then, of course, you'll need your seeds and something to label your containers.
Now it's time to drill the holes. Honestly, this was the most tedious part. If you don't already wear eyeglasses, it might be a good idea to wear safety goggles to protect your eyes from any flying plastic. And remember, we're doing the top and bottom because we need drainage, air circulation, and a way for rain and or snow to get in. I should note, each individual pot also has drainage, and I'm drilling holes about 2 inches apart. Next, it's time to fill the containers with pre-moistened potting mix, then labeling each with the plant name. Make sure to follow the advice on each seed packet for how deep to cover it. Typically, it's 1/8 to 1/2 inch deep, but some need light to germinate and should barely be covered. Now that we've got our bin filled with our containers, and as you can see, it's not even full all the way, so if I do decide to add things later, I have the space to do so. So what's next? So I will be setting this outside in a spot that gets a good amount of sun. And as I mentioned earlier, I will be checking on this periodically to make sure that they are staying moist enough and getting the sufficient, rain and snow that they need. And then we will be checking back in a couple of months to see if this was a successful sowing experiment or not. I'd love to hear your experience with winter sowing or any questions that you've had. If you've had success or you learned maybe from a failure, please share it with us below. And if you're new here, I hope you consider subscribing, hitting that like button if this content helped you, and stay tuned as we do the reveal on this in a few months. Until next time. Bye.